our endeavor to trammel the depths of the nature of emptiness, we've been looking at the meaning of faith. And there are two stories already told that come to mind. The first story is about that young man who was drawn to the Buddhist faith. So he shaved his head and donned the garments of the monk, and he entered the wilderness to practice the ways of Buddhism. He practiced non-himsa, non-hurting. He became celibate. He eschewed eating of meat. But it so happened that every few days, when he went into the local village, taking his begging bowl to seek alms, the daughter of the seller of groceries, fruit, fell in love with him. He was young and handsome, with a shining countenance. But one day, after some time, when he entered the village, the parents of this young woman went to him crying, "Please, our daughter is in love with you and has threatened to kill herself if you don't marry her." Well, the young man went into the forest again, into deep contemplation, and a few days later he came and confronted the parents of the young woman and said, "I will marry your daughter." So all the arrangements were made. He shed his monk's garments and he put on the garb of an ordinary man, and he was married, and he and his wife became basket weavers. They made baskets for a living. Now, when people came to buy the baskets, there was no evidence at all of that monk, except that there were those who noticed that when they came, they would find him weaving his baskets with his lips moving. But those baskets became famous because it was found by those who bought them that harmony came to their homes. Well-being and prosperity arrived on the doorsteps of those who bought their baskets. They lived a long life. They had children, and when they departed these realms, their children carried on the tradition of basket weaving, and their baskets too held the same grace that had been begun with their father, the monk. And then there's that story of the widow who lived in a far-off place a long time ago, and she had 7 children. She did washing for a living. The eldest of her children was only 10 years old, and he was called Aaron. And Aaron, from the very earliest age, had with him a deep, loving faith in God. So every Sunday they would light the candles. They would go through the rituals that signified the welcoming of the Sabbath day of rest for them. But for the rest of the week, Aaron would go to the marketplace and he would help the stallholders to set up their fruit stalls. He would sweep around where the fruit peelings were dropped. He made sure that things were in order. And the fruit holders and the stall holders would often give him some oranges, some grapes, some dates, some olives, and maybe a little rice. And so the family subsisted. But then one day when Aaron was going about his chores in the town square, a stranger came into town, and Aaron overheard him asking where he might find a certain family. And this was Aaron's family. So Aaron went over and said, "Excuse me, sir, but that's our family. I'll take you to my home." So leading the stranger, they went back to his home. And the stranger took out from his pocket a letter and handed it to Aaron's mother. He then left. When Aaron's mother opened and read the letter, she almost went into a swoon. And then she told her children that the letter contained the details that their father, who had died long ago, had a brother in far-off Egypt who was very, very rich and had died without any family and had left all his money to them. Oh, the children danced around the room thinking, well, the girls will have new clothes, and the boys thinking that they would have toys and they would have food. But then the mother grew very somber and sad, and she said, "But look at me. We're 7 children. How can I make that long journey to Egypt with 7 children when I have 7 children to feed?" Then Aaron spoke up and said, "Mother, I will go to Egypt." And she said, "But you're only 10 years old. How can you make that dangerous journey? You've got to go across the desert, and there's wild animals and brigands and robbers." "Mother," said Aaron, "where is your faith in God?" So the mother went to the leader of a caravan that was leaving to go across the sands to trade, and taking out all the small coins that she'd kept for those special days to buy the candles and the wine, she went to the leader of the caravan and bought a place for her son Aaron. But Aaron insisted before she went, you tell the leader of the caravan that Sunday is a day of rest, and ask him, please, that he must stop the caravan on that day." But when Aaron's mother said this to the leader of the caravan, "How can I stop? We're crossing the desert. This is money. It will cost you a lot." So he asked a very large sum of money to undertake this task. But Aaron's mother had nothing but her gold wedding ring left, so she sold it to give to the leader of the caravan. He took the money and promised that he would stop the caravan for the Sunday prayers. Well, the next day they set out, and the camels traversed the long and dusty, sandy deserts, travelling mostly in the evenings and resting during the days. But very soon it came to the eve of the Sunday, the Sabbath day. And Aaron went to the leader of the caravan and said, "You are stopping so that we can undertake the prayers and rituals. What are you talking about? Said the camel driver. I made no such undertaking. We're moving on. This is money for us. We have to get to our destinations. If you want to pray, you could stay behind. But Aaron's deep faith was so great. He said to the leader of the caravan, leave me here. And so they did. They left Aaron in a barren place in the middle of the desert, and he saw the camels off into the distance. He was very afraid, but he took out the little supplies that his mother had given him, a little container of wine, the candles. He lit a fire to keep the wild animals away, and then he began to set up all of the accoutrements of preparations for his welcoming of the Sabbath day. But just as he was about to start his prayers, he saw dust in the distance, and his heart started to beat loudly with fear. And soon he saw a great beast, a great lion approaching him, and he sat trembling in fear. But then, to his great surprise, the lion sat down just in front of where he'd laid out his little phylacteries. And when Aaron looked, the lion looked peaceful. So Aaron went about his usual rituals. He lit the candles, he took the wine, he said the prayers, and all the while the lion sat quietly. Throughout the night, also, the lion remained in its place. In the morning, Aaron realized that this lion was there for a purpose, by grace, you might say. So he went and put his arms around the lion's neck, and the lion with his tail indicated that Aaron should climb on its back. And so he did. And as soon as he did, the lion went bounding off across the desert, and it seemed in no time at all they could see the dust of the feet of the camel caravan ahead of them. Well, you can imagine the great surprise of the leader of the caravan and those other members of that group when Aaron came riding on this great beast. But of course, when the leader of the caravan saw this, he bowed in front of the lion and apologized and hastily gave back all the money that had been given to him. And in his heart he promised that he would never lie and cheat again, and he never did, that camel deer. Aaron rode that lion to their destination, and he rode the lion down the street, people running everywhere when they saw this great beast, until they arrived at the door of the address indicated by the letter given to his mother. The lion waited outside while Aaron went in and explained to those who were there that he was the rightful heir, and he was given several large bags of silver. He came out, climbing on the lion once again. The lion bounded off, and before long they had come to the outskirts of his very own village. The lion stopped, and it was an indication to Aaron that he should dismount and enter the town. He knew that it was time for the lion to leave. So with great regret, he put his arms around the lion's neck with great thanks. And the lion bounded off, and Aaron went to his family with his bags of silver, and with great rejoicing they were able to buy those things that made life great for them. But every Sunday, as they lit their candles and poured their wine, they would always ask Aaron to tell the story, which he gladly did. Remembering every detail, he would tell the story again and again. The lion of grace, it arose from faith. What do these two stories tell us? What is their deep meaning for us relative to this word, faith? Or in other words, what does faith mean for us now? Faith. You know, it begins with belief. That in our place, where belief in this or that has been eroded, stripped away from us, what remains, what essence remains in us when belief has gone, and yet an abiding faith remains. What does a faith really, really mean?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing. We don't need an image, we don't need an icon, and yet it will manifest in whatever way is needed. Grace. Out of what does grace arise? Without it. Who would recognize it? Grace, if they didn't have faith. No person.